It doesn't matter who you are. God takes sin seriously. Good morning, y'all. Welcome to Coffee with Connect. We get together on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30. We get into God's Word together. We have our coffee together. My mug today is a Star Wars mug that says, "The Force will be with you always." Quote Obi-Wan Kenobi. One of the older Star Wars mugs that I have. Had this one for a long, long time. A friend of mine gave this to me years ago. So, yeah, thanks, Lauren. So I'm still using it. We're continuing through 2 Peter. The book of 2 Peter, we're in chapter 2, verses 4 through 6 is what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to continue to pray, read, think, write, and do as we continue to go through the entire book of 2 Peter together. And these verses build on the last verses, as I was mentioning. This whole section of chapter 2 in many ways has to do with warnings against false teaching and harmful influences in our life. So I hope that you've prayed and asked the Lord to show you something today through his word. Now let's look at verses 4 through 6, 2 Peter chapter 2. I'm in the NLT. "For God did not spare even the angels who sinned. He threw them into hell in gloomy pits of darkness where they're being held until the day of judgment. And God did not spare the ancient world except for Noah and the 7 others in his family. Noah warned the world of God's righteous judgment. So God protected Noah when he destroyed the world of ungodly people with a vast flood. Later, God condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and turned them into heaps of ashes. He made them an example of what will happen to ungodly people." So this is more of a warning here of look at what God's done in the past. And so we need to carefully weigh and measure what we're doing in the future. As I think about this, we see Peter showing the justice and judgment of God here. And we also see that it doesn't matter if you're an angel or if you're in the ancient world or who you are. God takes sin seriously. It doesn't matter who you are. God takes sin seriously. When we pursue freedom to sin, we end up in bondage. That's a thing that you see here. When people try to find ways to feel freedom in their sin, it actually ends up chaining us up. Even in the ancient world, right? He talks about Noah, and the flood was a result of that. And then the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, definitely a result of that. And, the wickedness of mankind in that day was so much that God judged them to make them an example. And I know you're probably thinking, are we too far off from where the world was back then? Probably not. The lesson I kind of get from this, though, as I'm thinking about this, is that true freedom comes from obedience. True freedom comes from obedience. So what's God saying to you? As you read through that and you see really what Peter's getting at and referring to the things that God has done, is there something that you can write down that stands out to you that you could put in the comments or somewhere to help you as you're moving forward in your walk with Jesus? And then what do you do with this? Well, no one is too high to be judged. We see that. No one's too high to be judged. God doesn't grade on a curve. And even the successful and the profitable can and will be judged, as we see from the examples that he gave us. And so what do? I think we need to weigh and measure more often where we are, right? Am I seeking freedom to sin in the things that I'm pursuing in my life? Because if I am, I'm just going to end up in chains. I'm going to end up in bondage. I'm going to end up in judgment. But if I want true freedom, that freedom actually comes from Jesus. And that only comes from obedience. So thanks for joining me. And I hope that you'll like the video, you'll subscribe, you'll share this, And you'll join me again here next time so we can have our coffee and connect to Christ, community, purpose, and God's Word together. See ya.